a lot of people invest in stocks and bonds and retail products, but they don't get into the part of a portfolio that tends to make the most money for the ultra wealthy and the Yale endowment funds and the successful endowment funds. So it's nice to have really try to help people to learn in a short amount of time in my platform called Infinite Freedom. We have a mastermind group where I help accredited investors, so people that have $1 million or more of net worth, or they make $200,000 to $300,000 a year or more, depending on how they do their taxes. And if they fit into that criteria, then the government says that they're allowed to invest in these alternative investments that are seen as being somewhat more risky. But in reality, I feel like most of the things I invest into have a lot more upside compared to its risk. It seems less risky to me in a way. So we teach people the investments that I've gone through. We go over concepts, we bring in specialists, and I really try to accelerate their learning so that they can do what a lot of investors in that space have done, but they can learn it in a fraction of the time with a fraction of the money.
Welcome to America Dreams. I'm visiting here today with Eric, Francom, and Eric. It's a pleasure to have you on today's show.
It's great to be here. Thank you, Alan.
So, Eric, you operate in the space of angel investor and wealth mentor and all sorts of good things I want to get to. But before getting there, you went through a very unique career transition. And I'd like you to walk us through what you studied in college, got a degree in, and a certification, and then what led you to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. Well, I have always pretty much wanted to be a doctor, and business has fascinated me as well. And so when I was thinking what kind of doctor I wanted to be, I saw that dentists have a little bit more ability to do some of the business as well. So I did a Bachelor's of Integrated Studies with an emphasis in chemistry and business and zoology, and went to dental school. And it's funny, I joke with my kids now, and I tell them, you guys can do whatever you want to do when you grow up after dental school. So for me, that was a little bit of that as well. I went through dental school and I enjoyed helping people, but I wasn't balanced as well as I should have been. I was working too much. I was too focused on the debt from student loans and practice debt and different things. And, it was actually at a Tony Robbins conference at all places. He came and spoke to a bunch of dentists, and he just talked about how he works because he wants to, not because he has to. And people that don't have that don't even know the difference. So I thought, I want that. And I've later found out that about 50% of dentists wish that they picked a different career path. I don't know how different that is compared to other professions, but, I'm glad to be pivoting and helping people in a different way. I'm helping dentists and other professionals to be able to get the same freedom that I've been able to be blessed to have.
Well, you're after spending a period of time as a dentist, then you decided to transition.
Absolutely. I pivoted to the investment world. And I was doing that as a dentist, but I finally got to the point where I sold the practices and said, this is my new thing. This is what I'm going to do as my primary, passion project.
What influence did your family have on your career switch out of dentistry?
Families can be scared of change. I married a beautiful, wonderful woman who's a therapist, and her dad was a general in the Army. He grew up, he had a predictable paycheck his entire career and on into retirement, that same paycheck. And so her dealing with an entrepreneur is a little bit scarier. So I had to overcome some of those fears. And I did that somewhat by paying ourselves regularly out of our, bigger fund so that it was trickling in a cash flow way. But she's doing what she loves. I'm doing what I love. And it's worked out very, very well. I get to spend a lot more time with the kids, especially.
Would you call yourself retired or redeployed right now?
Well, she tells me I'm too young to be retired. She sometimes uses it, and I think redeployed is a much better word. And we're meant to create. And my group is called Infinite Freedom, and it's about having financial freedom to unlock the freedom of our relationships and adventure, and the things that really we want to do, so we can progress and things can continue on. Like our portfolios can help people even after we're long gone. So yeah, it's about having freedom, not about being the couch potato. And just now that the lower levels of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs are covered, I'm blessed to work on some of the higher levels.
You do some angel investing and also some wealth mentoring. Would you categorize yourself first as an angel investor and then a wealth mentor, or vice versa?
I'd have to be, you can't give away something that you don't have. And if I wasn't, being the investor and proving the concept day in and day out, then I wouldn't have the moral authority to help others to do that. So I really enjoy doing it. People probably tell me once or twice a week, I hear somebody say, "Man, I just love your energy." And I can't think of one person that ever told me that as a dentist. So I think I'm in my zone of genius a little bit more, at least for now. I'd love to get some dental practices at some point and to teach and mentor in that regard. But yeah, I'm an investor first, and then I help other people to get the same freedoms that have been created by the passive income from these investments.
In the world of investing, there's been a lot of volatility recently, and I think markets have been more illiquid. What's your take on where we're at right now?
Yeah, I think that volatility is where the cream can rise to the top faster. And there's never really been a better time since I've been investing to invest in some of the private equity and venture capital type companies right now, because they are at a discount. Real estate I think is still pretty expensive, but in an inefficient market outside the stock markets, I've had really good success getting good values on companies, and finding just disproportionate returns compared to pretty high risk tolerance as far as risk protection.
Now you've delved into real estate also.
I do. I'm in real estate. I've had several single family rental houses, invested in some syndicates of storage and that kind of thing. I have some of my own commercial warehouse and strip mall type things locally.
How did you negotiate a $2 million building with no down payment?
Well, I guess that's one man's trash is another man's treasure. And there was a package of a strip mall that had this big, huge building that nobody was using. It was essentially a condemned building, and they were wanting to sell everything as a package, and the building scared everybody off. Where I did the math and saw that it was cash flowing well without that big building, just pretended that it just wasn't even there with the purchase price that I was able to negotiate down. And I got it to where the lien didn't even need to be on that building. So I literally owned the building outright. It appraised, at about $1.5 million, and that rose up to $2 million. And so it's a little bit to get it re-going with, fire suppression and just bringing it up to code and that, but have tenants that are just thrilled to be in there. And it's turned into a very good, cash flowing thing. And it can't beat the purchase price of zero.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thanks.
So you've delved into alternative investments. First of all, by definition, what is an alternative investment?
Sure. They're investments that are off market. They're going to be the things outside of the public stocks and bonds that you would see. So, venture capital and private equity, that's essentially what most people are talking about with the alternative investments. A lot of people, include real estate into the group as well. But a lot of people invest in the stocks and bonds and retail products, but they don't get into the part of a portfolio that tends to make the most money for the ultra wealthy and the Yale endowment funds and the successful endowment funds. So it's nice to have the balance of all.
Where can someone learn more about how to invest in these types of investments?
Well, there's a lot of articles out there, certainly as far as Forbes and Entrepreneur, and a lot of the magazines are talking about the shift that smart money's shifting over there. That's what I really try to help people to learn in a short amount of time in my platform called Infinite Freedom. We have a mastermind group where I help accredited investors, so people that have $1 million or more of net worth, or they make $200,000 to $300,000 a year or more, depending on how they do their taxes. And if they fit into that criteria, then the government says that they're allowed to invest in these alternative investments that are seen as being somewhat more risky. But in reality, I feel like most of the things I invest into have a lot more upside compared to its risk. It seems less risky to me in a way. We teach people the investments that I've gone through. We go over concepts, we bring in specialists, and really try to accelerate their learning so that they can do what a lot of investors in that space have done, but they can learn it in a fraction of the time with a fraction of the money.
Now, one thing you teach is that of tax breaks for certain types of investments.
That's the fastest return that some people can get. It's an instant return, and sometimes it's the best return you can get. There's if you look at a $30,000 savings in taxes per year linearly, that will save you $900,000 over 30 years. But with the power of just even modest compounding interest, it's really more like 15 million. So helping people to, I've heard a friend say, I'm totally fine doing my patriotic duty to pay my taxes, but I don't need to leave a tip. And sometimes we can pay taxes in the form of paying the IRS cash, and sometimes we do it by following the guidebook that the IRS has given us, saying, hey, we want the country to create more jobs and to create more buildings, to preserve, land and minerals and different things. And so, as investors, we can spend some of our sweat equity, if you will, to pay in that way for some of our tax.
You've used the phrase post-lottery lifestyle. What is that?
Well, the only thing I don't like about lottery is that it makes it sound like it's more of a luck, something that you didn't create. But the concept of the Publishers Clearinghouse always, threw me off when I was a kid. I thought that was neat. They'd talk about you could make $5,000 or $10,000 a week for the rest of your life, and then pass that along to somebody after you're gone, that they can have, $5,000 or $10,000 a week for the rest of their life. And, so I tend to up that a little bit and just say, hey, what would your life be like if you just had $20,000 a week coming in always? What would your life be like? And we identify the gaps between where somebody is right now and where they would be at that point. And we help them to create that lifestyle and to really make it a reality. And for a lot of people, it comes a lot sooner than they would think, as they get investments that are paying large amounts. A lot of our members are getting paid 5 or even 6-figure checks monthly in the distributions from their regular payments on investments. And that's how we get people connected with their lottery that they create themselves.
So, when you're looking at investments, a lot of people want to focus on downside protection, but then they want the upside return of like what a venture capital fund will do. Does such an investment exist?
It sounds too good to be true, right? I mean, that's what we all want, right? But it really can exist in these less efficient markets, inefficient markets. It's not going to exist in the stock market. It's too efficient. There's a lot of money there, and it's just overvalued, in my opinion, for most things on the stock market. So there are investments where you can invest in a company. For instance, there's one that I'm invested into that is an incubator accelerator that's creating tech and hard tech solutions to a lot of problems, that they were given a government grant to say, basically, hey, we're going to give you a 55-year lease for this 300,000 square foot building that you're basically paying no rent on. You can rent it out for whatever you want. And they rent it out at $110 a square foot. And their clients, who they only take 8% of the applicants into their place because they have more people wanting in there than they have capacity for. And so the investment into that place was about the same as the price of the lease for the building itself, a 55-year lease. And so if something went bad, we have that lease that could sell to a big company and they would buy it, and the investor should be made whole. So there's a high floor to that investment, but they're also partnering with the best of these companies that come through, and they'll take about a quarter of the company to really take them to the next level and help them to become unicorn type companies. So with the protection of real estate that has $110 a square foot, which is essentially all profit, then they can still take advantage of the upside of potential unicorns.
Eric, if someone wants to reach out to you for wealth mentorship or to follow up on what you do now, how would they contact you?
Yeah, they can go to ericfrancom.com, EricFrancom.com, and there's free materials that people can look at there. That you can pre-order my book, Infinite Freedom, that's coming out. You could schedule a chat with me. I'd love to talk to people that are interested in doing this kind of a thing and see if you're a fit that you can apply to be a part of the mastermind group to, partake of these same investments that are helping 100% of our members that are really taking good advantage of it. So yeah, the website would be the best way.
Excellent. Well, Eric, it's been a pleasure having you with us today.
So good to be here. Thank you so much, Alan.